Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to our Thursday, May 12th, 2016 edition of Beyond the Gate Radio. Yes, we are here once again with returning guest, Garnet Schulhauser. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. Anyway, he's a retired lawyer who lives near Victoria on Vancouver Island with his wife, Kathy, and little dog, Abby. Garnet, now an author, was a guest on our show for the first time on August 16, 2015, when he introduced his first two books, Dancing on a Stamp and Dancing Forever with Spirit. Garnet has just completed another book, Dance of Heavenly Bliss. Tonight we will be interviewing him about his new book, and we will ask him to also talk about his first two books for those who may not have heard the first show with him. To find out more about Garnet, please visit his website, Garnet. Okay, I'm going to spell it out. So get your pens ready, and it's already posted as a link on the show page, GarnetSchulhauser.com. Please also visit his other sites, which we have posted on the show page at the bottom of the introduction, which is located below the slideshow. My name is David Baker. I'm your host, and welcome in to Cheryll Baker, the co-host. Hello, Cheryll. How are you doing today?
Great, David. Thank you. I'm glad to be back here on the show. How are you doing today?
Fabulous, especially after the rains we had and, the fine weather we have here.
That's
only
true.
Had to water the yard once in the last 6 months, I believe, so that's wonderful. And I don't know if the drought is over or El Nino is the one that filled in for the drought, but let's hope the drought is over. So other than that, I'm fine. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Garnet. Welcome to Beyond the Gate Radio.
Hi, David. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm delighted to be here again.
Thank you. We're very happy to have you, too.
Yes, we're happy to have you. Thank you.
So you've been very busy yourself. I mean, you're just pumping out those beautiful books with wonderful words in them and everything. So I'm not sure if you're going to, how many books you're going to publish or whatever, but, you're climbing up the stairs and making all these wonderful books. Could you tell us a little about how you got started with the first book, and then a little bit about the second one, and then we can go into this one. That way people can, get an idea of how this all came to be.
For sure. Well, it all started off, it was back in 2007 when I was still practicing law. I was a corporate lawyer for like 34 years. And in 2007, I was walking down the street one sunny afternoon in May when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a homeless man jumped out in front of me. And he looked like a typical homeless person. He had, long stringy hair and a scraggly beard and dirty, slept-in clothes. But there was something very different about him. He had these amazing, sparkling blue eyes that seemed to be penetrating deep within me, right down to the depths of my soul. And I sensed that he knew everything about me, everything I'd ever said or done in my life. And he knew my hopes and aspirations, my fears and anxieties, and even my deepest and darkest secrets, which is quite amazing because we had never met before. I'd never seen this man before. At the same time, his gaze was sending me this wave of pure, unconditional love that was infusing my whole body with an amazing sense of peace and security and well-being. It was an amazing feeling. So I was stood there like a deer caught in the headlights, like I was in a time warp. I'm not sure how long I stood there, but eventually he broke the spell by saying to me, "Why are you here?" And then he promptly disappeared into a nearby store. And when I finally collected my wits, I went into the store to try to find him. I needed to find out who he was and why he had stopped me. But he was nowhere to be seen in the store, and I went back out onto the street, and I walked up and down for several blocks hoping to spot him, but he had seemingly disappeared into thin air. So the next day, the very same time, the very same street, I went back to try to find him, hoping I could spot him again. And after I walked up and down for several blocks, I finally saw him sitting all alone on a bench. So I walked up to him and I said, "Who are you, and why did you stop me the other day?" And he said, "I'm a soul just like you, and I'm here to answer your questions and help you on your journey." And so that was the beginning of a dialogue that I had with this man and went off and on for the next several months. And I found out his name was Albert, and he was actually one of my spirit guides in disguise. And he told me that I was the only one who could see him in physical form as the homeless man. And he said that had other people been walking by the bench that day when we started our conversation, they would have seen me sitting all alone on the bench. They wouldn't have seen Albert.
Wow.
And so he told me that he had come to answer my questions, all the big questions of life that I've been asking myself over and over, for many years, like, who am I? Why am I here? What's my life's purpose? And what happens to me when I die? So he answered all those questions and many others that arose from his answers. And then he told me that he didn't come just to satisfy my curiosity. He wanted me to write a book about his revelations so they'd be available to everyone. And I was reluctant to do so at first because I'd never even dreamed of writing a book. It wasn't anywhere on my radar screen. But he was gently persuasive and persistent, and eventually he convinced me that I should write the manuscript for my first book, Dancing on a Stamp. And that book basically describes a dialogue I had with Albert that went off and on for a number of months, as I said, where I ask him questions and he answers them, and he answers all the big questions and many others. And those revelations are all described in my first book, Dancing on a Stamp. And then when I finished the first book, he disappeared out of my life for a period, and then suddenly came back into my life in a very different sort of encounter. I woke up one night and I saw this ghost-like ethereal figure standing in the doorway of my bedroom. And when it moved closer towards the foot of my bed, I could see it was my old friend Albert, but he was in astral form. And I said, "Hi Albert, what brings you here this time?" He said, "I'm here to take you on a series of astral travels, out-of-body adventures. I'm going to take you to the spirit side, to other places in the universe, and other places on Earth, because I want you to write about the things you see and the people that you meet." And so he did, and he basically then just reached out and grabbed my astral hand, pulled my astral body out of my physical body, and we rose up through the ceiling, up through the clouds, to a high spot above our beautiful planet. And then he led me through a shimmering doorway to the spirit side. And that was my very first adventure, astral adventure with him. He took me on many others that I described in my second book, Dancing Forever with Spirit. And then when we finished the adventures for Dancing Forever with Spirit, he again disappeared out of my life for a while so I could write the manuscript for my second book. And then later he reappeared once again in astral form in my bedroom like he did before, and took me on a new series of astral adventures, which I describe in my third book, Dance of Heavenly Bliss, which has just been released in March. So that's my history of my encounters with Albert. He's a very fascinating, wise, compassionate soul, and I very much enjoyed writing about my adventures with him, which I've described in my books.
That's totally amazing. And I've wondered, I guess the world is changing, but years ago when I started to get into this, I didn't really talk about, I started studying my spirituality and spiritual gifts in about 1969, 1970, somewhere around there. At that time, I got out of the Army and was working for the federal government and learned how to astral travel and study psychic abilities and all that. But I didn't dare talk about it because, I've seen some guests on TV and they kind of made fun of them. You couldn't call on a radio show and tell about it. They'd laugh you off the air and people would snicker. But now times have changed and you're, competent individual, well-educated person, worked, somebody that I would least expect to bend or have an open mind about something like this. So this experience must have been so profound that it really, piqued your curiosity and you decided to follow through just to say, yeah, what's really going on here? And then I guess it floored you and then you couldn't stop the dialogue with this person because you must have gotten some amazing answers from this individual. And not everybody meets their spirit guide like that. They meet them in their dreams, in their astral travels, in the meditation, or sometimes the spiritual figure will come to the bedroom or something and talk to them. But I've had people, including myself, see what we thought was an angel at a certain time or a guide appear before you to help you out, then disappear. And, just seconds later you look around and there's hundreds of feet between where you were and where they could hide in a few seconds and they've just vanished. So, your experience is another unique experience and it's totally genuine and real. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was quite a transformational experience for me, David. It was like, before that I was just a typical straight-laced, button-down corporate lawyer, wearing navy pinstripe suits. And I never talked about spirituality or religion or anything else, and so it was quite a change for me. And the reason it happened was because he was such an amazing person. He had amazing sparkling blue eyes, and he had fantastic answers, sincere answers that really resonated with me. And so I knew, from the first 5 minutes of my conversation, I knew this guy really was who he said he was. He was my spirit guide. He was from the spirit realm. And I really put a lot of faith in what he told me, and I was and I really signed on to his revelations. So from that point onward, that was in May of 2007. About 1 year later, I retired from the law because it just didn't seem relevant to me anymore. And I knew that Albert had set me off on a new path in my life, a much different path from the one I'd been on before. And I was really decided that that's where I needed to go. And I was, and after having made that change in my life, I'm really quite happy to have done so. It was an amazing experience, and I continue to have, contact with Albert, and I really enjoy writing about my his revelations and my adventures. It's just it's been an amazing experience for me.
So I'm not sure if this is a metaphor or an analogy or a comparison, but a little kid, David, had a little sling and rock. Nobody could defeat the giant. This kid did. Bam. So because your experience reminds me of that. And another way of thinking, now this, you're, I'd say, corporate attorney, have a very good professional career, very, very wealthy and important people listen to you. So why would you not meet somebody that looks like a Wall Street type or attorney, high-powered attorney sitting on a bench, approach you? Would you have listened to him? And why do you think that he came in the form of a beggar or a homeless person that you would listen to rather than somebody else?
That's a good question.
I did ask him that. I asked him that, David. He said that he thought that he really wanted to sort of wake me up to sort of to what I've been doing in my life so far, and he said it would have been too easy for him to appear as sort of like one of my corporate clients because I would have been too ready to sit down and listen to him, and he wanted to really challenge me. He wanted to challenge me to make me realize that there are other people in the world besides my corporate clients and my partners and colleagues that have important things to say. And so he really wanted to challenge me to see if I could really, suffer my way through to sit down and talk with this homeless man on a bench on a street. And and he did really challenge me because initially, when he first said, I'm here to help you on your journey, my skeptical lawyer brain kicked in, and I said to him, well, why do you think you can help me when you can't even help yourself? Because looks like you've been sleeping on the street for weeks and you smell like a dead fish. I mean, my skepticism really welled up, and I was just about ready to go back to my office. But he smiled at me and he said, looks can be deceiving because you look like you're a very successful corporate lawyer with everything under control, but we both know that's just a facade. He said, if you want, turn around and go back to your office and see if you can find the answers you've been seeking all these years on all those emails waiting for you on the computer, or you can sit down and have a chat with me. And so luckily my intuition then said, this guy may just be a phony baloney and I may be wasting my time with him, but what have I got to lose? A half an hour of my time? Let's take a chance. And so I was glad I did, and I think that he really wanted to challenge me to make me really want to be curious and sit down and talk with him, and so that's why he appeared as the homeless man.
That's amazing. That makes a lot of sense. And isn't it amazing how you'll be somewhere on a vacation, in a prison or somewhere, and suddenly you just meet this person, and as soon as they start speaking, there's something different about them, and then you may never see them again and wonder, what's this person doing here? They could be a teacher. I don't understand where all this is coming from. So, it really catches your attention and you're hooked. And he did a really good job of that. Now, during the journeys and the information that's passed on to you, you're putting in the books for the listeners here, there are messages to show another way of looking at life, or a way we can do things to, be ourselves, to feel better. What kind of messages has he been giving you to write about?
Well, in my very first book, of course, he answered all the big questions in terms of, who am I? He said, well, you're a soul. You're an eternal soul, just like all the other humans on the planet, and souls on other planets and souls on the spirit side. You came from a wonderful, beautiful paradise called the spirit side, or the other side, or some people call it heaven. That is your true home, he told me. That's where you came from. And you're taking a brief sojourn, a brief journey in a human body here on Earth, and you chose to do that so you could learn and experience things that you need for your evolution and growth as a soul. So that's who I am. That's who you are. That's who everyone is. And that's where we came from, and we came here to learn and experience things. And he said that we chose our lives. We chose the major circumstances of our lives beforehand. When we prepared, before we were born, we prepared life plans. And those life plans, we would pick out significant aspects of our lives, like the place we'd be born, the first language we'd learn, our names, the identities of our parents and siblings and aunts and uncles and grandparents and other people who played an important role in our life. And we chose all that for the purposes of trying to face some challenges and learn some lessons that we needed. And we had the cooperation of the other souls who would play major roles in our lives, because they had to agree to be part of my life, and I had to agree to be part of their life. And so that's sort of how we came here. It wasn't God or the source who put us here for some reason. We chose it ourselves. And the other aspect, which was a major revelation, was that he said, God or the source doesn't make rules for us to follow, contrary to what a lot of organized religions tell us, that God has made a whole bunch of rules, and if we go follow these rules, we will hurt and offend God, and that God will punish us if we don't make amends. He says God or the source does not make rules, doesn't control or manipulate events on our planet, and there's no judgment or punishment after we die. There's no hell. And everyone, no matter what they did on Earth, go back to the spirit side when our physical bodies die. So that's quite a major deviation from what I had been taught growing up in a Roman Catholic family. And so it was quite different, and it really resonated with me, because it really made sense to me, because I had rejected a lot of the beliefs of my religion, a while back, thinking that they didn't make a lot of sense to me. So here he came in with his revelations, which filled that void and made me feel very comfortable about who I was and where I was going. So that was his in my first book. That was sort of the major point of telling him exactly how the cycle of reincarnation on Earth works. Where we came from and where we're going back to. So that gave me a lot of comfort. And in my astral travels, he took me to see people on the spirit side. In my very first engagement on the spirit side, I actually had an encounter with some of my loved ones who had passed on before me, like my mother and father and my brother and various aunts and uncles and grandparents. And that just reaffirmed in my mind what he had told me before, is that everyone, all of our loved ones who passed on, go back to the spirit side. They don't cease to exist. They actually continue to exist in a very wonderful place called the spirit side. And that as he had told me, that when we all cross over, we'll be met by a welcoming party of our passed over relatives who will be there to embrace us with unconditional love and welcome us back home. And so that was really a nice confirmation for me. And all the various places that he took me to see were designed to show me, designed to teach me a lesson, and all of humanity, a lesson about some aspect of our lives, or give us a nugget of wisdom. And that's all designed to sort of help us understand the vast diversity of life on our universe, and to help us with our journeys that we're currently struggling with, as humans on this planet. And so he had a very set agenda for me, David. It wasn't sort of random. He knew exactly where he wanted to take me. He never told me beforehand where we're going or who we would meet, but it was all very interesting and designed to impart some wisdom on, to me, that I could relate to the readers of my book. So it was very, very well designed and set out, and he's a very wise soul who knew exactly what he wanted me to see and who he wanted me to meet, so I could write about it in my books.
That's totally amazing. Totally what I teach and believe in whenever I either give my talks or whatever. That first, of course, there's free will, because why would certain things be allowed to happen if it wasn't allowed to happen? And that's for a certain reason. On Earth here, all these different things. If we don't experience, then we can't grow and spiritually progress, I believe. So, if murder, mayhem, or somebody helping somebody else, all those different combinations of things, we're like in a school, and we're learning right now both good and bad. We learn from that. And we're allowed to do that by the Creator. But look at this. You can't flap your arms and fly, and you can't walk through a wall. So that's limited what the Creator allows you to do, but everything else is allowed, so that must be good. You know what I mean? The Creator didn't create a certain belief system. And secondly, everybody's experience is important, and I suppose you reincarnate several times to get the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then that really helps you understand all aspects of it. Otherwise, how can you eventually teach others? Because, everybody here on Earth is not on the same level. So, there's some people that know better than others. So that's probably part of it there. And then as far as your spiritual experiences go, I don't know, do you think it's just restricted to what your mission is, what you do now, or do you have paid cognitive abilities and mediumistic abilities as well, do you think?
Do I personally mean, David?
Yeah, it seems like that you'd be a psychic and a medium. You have that gift because you're able to do all this. I'm just guessing that maybe you can see other spirits, perhaps, if necessary.
I've been asked that question a lot. Actually, I don't have contact with other spirits other than Albert, not that I'm aware of or remember. I would love to be able to be like you are, a psychic or a medium, and have contact with various spirits, and allow me to do readings for people who are anxious about what happened to their loved ones or what they should do in their life. But I haven't been able to do that yet. So far my ability has been limited to my contacts with Albert. And I've asked him if he would be willing to allow me to do readings for people like you do, David. And he said, not at this time. He said maybe in the future, but right now he wants me to focus on what he's showing me so I can just write about it. And so that's my current focus. Maybe sometime later I can, but right now that's my only contact with the spirit side. Other than, of course, I have contact with many spirits on the spirit side when I travel there astrally with Albert, and I've met a lot of people, some of my relatives, and I've and a lot of other people that have lived on this planet. But that doesn't continue once I'm sort of back in my physical body. So that's the extent of my ability so far. I'd love to be able to have your talent, David, but it hasn't developed yet.
Well, I've heard many stories from many people that didn't have the ability, that had similar experiences that you report, similar. You don't have to be a psychic or medium to experience it. Anybody can, because we all have eternal souls, it's energy, and it's all capable of the same thing. But maybe that person, that one of them I was talking to, had the gift of song, amazing gift, but they couldn't see spirits. And then they brought me to the house and say, "Here, play this guitar and sing," and they would laugh me out of the house, but I could see spirits and they can't. In other words, we all have a gift that may be tweaked more than another. Here on Earth, we all have different gifts, I suppose. But one day, if your spirit guide ever gives you permission, I'd be glad to give you some really good tips or some teaching,
I appreciate that, David. If you
to help you out there, because I'm glad you're interested in it. Just the fact that you're interested in it means that eventually you will have that opportunity. Now, I'm looking at this from a psychic perspective that I believe that you will be doing it sometime in the near future. So I'm just giving you a little mini reading here.
I'm thrilled to hear that, because I really do want to get into that, and I just and I ask Albert every once in a while when it's going to happen, and he sort of just puts me off. But I'm glad to hear what you're telling me, and I certainly work towards that.
Yes, and I would definitely say, okay, Garnet, let's start doing it, because what I'll be doing is walking your path, and so I'd have to be ethical about it. I'd have to wait for him to give you permission before I even start doing it. That is, if I'm the one that's meant to help you out in that particular situation, which I'd be most happy to do. But so we'll see what happens. But so now your latest book here, how is it different than the first two? Dance of Heavenly Bliss. Has it progressed to another, pulling from one message and transitioning to another message?
I think it is different from my first set of astral adventures, which I described in Dancing Forever with Spirit, because he takes me to different places and I see different things. But I think the theme is pretty consistent throughout. It's there just to demonstrate to people that we're all on very unique journeys on this planet, and everyone has different goals and different challenges and different lessons to face. So one of the themes, of course, is that don't judge other people, because you don't know where they've been. You don't know how many lives they've lived. You don't know where they've lived. You don't know how many challenges they have faced already in their lives or what they may face in the future. So one of the things is don't judge other people, because we're all unique souls, unique entities, and we all have very different journeys. And so that's one of the themes. The other theme is that he wants us to know that there is a vast diversity of life, in our universe. It's not just life on our planet. There's life on millions and millions of other planets, in many different kinds of life forms. Some of them are much more intelligent than humans, and there are civilizations on other planets that don't have to deal with the negative emotions that we have to deal with on Earth, like anger, fear, hate, jealousy, greed, that sort of thing. And a lot of civilizations get along just fine. They don't fight, they don't abuse each other, they don't murder and kill each other, they don't have wars. And so he wanted me to see that, look at, it is possible for humans to change their course of action and to get rid of their negative emotions and embrace love and compassion, because there have been other civilizations that are still that have done that successfully and are living in very peaceful, harmonious lives. And so he just sort of like an eye opener to say, look at, humans got to stop thinking that they're the only game in town, because they aren't. And that we really need to change our ways, because the way we've been abusing each other and the other creatures on our planet and our planet itself, Mother Earth herself, the way we've been carrying on is not going to end very, very happily for us unless we change our ways. So that was really the other major theme was we need to wake up and stop doing what we've been doing and change our ways and move forward on the path of spiritual enlightenment. So all these little trips I had with him in dancing to Heavenly Bliss and dancing for the Spirit were all designed to sort of give us a little picture of a glimpse of other people's lives and the challenges they faced, and how other civilizations in our universe have managed to work out their problems, with the hope that we can sort of learn from that.
Wow. So your books in stages is pretty much a recurrent theme, but with more information. You finished the first book and said, oh, man, I wish you'd written more. Read the second book. Oh, my goodness. But I still have questions. Read the third book. Oh, my goodness, my questions are answered. And that's good. I have a feeling you're not done writing yet. And I have a feeling that you should be going to talks to help people, because I feel like I'm talking to a teacher here. I'm saying that you're a teacher. Not only that,
thank you.
Yeah.
I take that as a compliment. Thank you for saying that, David. And in answer to your question, Book 4 is nearly finished. Book 4 is More Astral Adventures with Albert, to try to answer some unanswered questions that may be out there. And so basically I'm in sort of under his tutelage. I mean, if Albert says that we're going on a trip, then I go on a trip. If he says I'm writing, he told me I was going to write 4 books, and I've nearly finished the 4th. If he tells me I'm writing more, I'll just follow his guidance. I'm sort of following his marching orders. So he has things that he wants people to know about, and I'm just his messenger. So I'll do whatever he asks me to do, David.
See, and you never told me that. I just picked that up, and I told you about writing the additional books, and I think he's going to have you either write more or start speaking to live people, audiences, which I think you'd be very successful at, because people are leaving certain belief systems these days or want to discover something, and they're looking for better answers than they're getting now, and to hear somebody like you speak, and these are real truths, I think that would help a lot of people. And on the question of life elsewhere, there's a couple of camps on Earth. I don't know, maybe we have been visited, but the government's covering it up, and some people think that we are, but they're, benevolent aliens, but a lot of people think they're benevolent and really here for peaceful purposes, and scientists are desperately looking for life, and there's evidence of Goldilocks planets, which would be an ideal planet around the sun, the right distance and size to support life. But at least minds are opening up now.
Yes.
And who could say,
yes,
there's billions and billions of not only stars, but galaxies which contain millions of stars. The Creator, I'm sure, created not only an infinite universe, but infinite life. Otherwise, why just have yellow flowers in your garden, and that's it? Why not have a rainbow? So I'm sure the universe is a rainbow of life. And I totally believe that there are many civilizations, some that are way advanced, some that are just, coming out of the ocean and crawling for the first time, and then there's us, the caveman-type civilization compared to them, because we're advanced with all this technology. It's amazing. It's coming up really quickly and advancing very quickly. But as far as why do we still have war? It's 2016, not 1516. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying. People need to wake up more and start thinking. And so that's why Albert is here. And every person he touches, you write a book and you touch more people, and hopefully they will touch more people, and the world will start to change. And that's why I like having people like you on here, because you make a big positive change in this world of ours.
Well, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate your comments, David. And yes, you are right. There's more and more people who are awakening to the problems that we have and are eager to find a solution to get us on the right path. One of the the things that Albert told me was that humanity's at a crucial crossroads right now, and that we have very advanced technology. You're right, David, but our emotional and spiritual intelligence has not kept pace with our technology. And that's why we still have to, be ruled too much by our negative emotions by too many people, and that's why we have wars and murders and terrorist acts and genocides and so on. And he says we really got to change our ways, because we have the capability. We have the weapons of mass destruction that, if unleashed, could destroy all life on our planet. And he doesn't want that to happen. The good spirits in the spirit realm don't want that to happen, and they've been doing their best to send messages through many different channels, through people like me who write books, and people like yourself, David, who host radio shows and conducts readings, and people who speak at public gatherings. And the idea is to try to bombard humanity with the same message over and over again, and to wake up more and more people so that we can actually change our ways before it's too late. And he's very optimistic that we can do that, but he says we have to work hard at it, and we have a long ways to go. And he doesn't want us to crash and burn like some of the earlier human civilizations did that were very advanced technologically, like Atlantis and Lemuria, and even a few others we haven't even heard of. And so, humans on this planet have been through this movie many times before, and it hasn't gone well before, and they're hoping that this time we can pull it off.
Yeah, I don't believe that we're going to have a nuclear war that wipes out mankind or a giant asteroid that hits us. Our Creator is smart. We need to come here to learn, and why let something like that happen and destroy all our work and the Creator's work and everything like that doesn't make sense. I know we can have big scares and close calls that we can learn from. I think that's probably what's in the future, but I'm not seeing any catastrophe that will wipe out all living things on this earth, not during our lifetime. I know if it's inevitable that sometime in the future that this may happen and things need to start all over somewhere else if we're going to, use up all the resources on this planet. But I was reading an article, and somebody said there's more than enough resources for everybody on the planet. There's no reason why there should be, people starving and people getting fat off of eating all these foods that they don't need. You see what I mean? There's enough for everybody on this planet. So I guess that's another lesson we have to learn, So that's
very true.
Why we're going to stay here.
One of the things that Albert said was that, basically, we humans abuse each other through direct violence. We also abuse each other through neglect by not sharing the resources that we have. So the wealthy nations don't share enough with the poor nations, and then all too often the leaders of the poor nations grab whatever resources their country has and take it for themselves. So there's just a whole series of greed governing countries and governing our lives, and not enough sharing. And you're right, there is enough resources for everyone. It's just a matter of trying to convince humans that we need to share. We need to embrace our fellow humans with love and compassion and share what we have. And we do that for sure, but we don't do enough of it, David, and that's why there are some people in the world who starve, don't have enough food or enough clean water to drink, which is really a shame.
It is. And, I never, whenever people believe in stuff or say right or wrong, I just don't make it a point to go out of my way and say, well, I don't like your belief system because, God doesn't send people to hell or somebody, whatever. What I'm trying to say is I don't like to get into that. But why are, in the Middle East, for example, my wife and I were seeing that ISIS was attacking, there's different sects over there, Shiites and Sunnis and all that. They were killing us, but we're out of there and now they're killing each other. It doesn't make any sense. I thought religion was peaceful. There's a cartoon that I saw. I posted it one time on Facebook. There's two aliens flying in a flying saucer, and they're approaching Earth. And you can see all these mushroom clouds, like atomic bomb blasts, all around the planet. And one guy said, all right, Bork, what's that all about? And Bork said, oh, they're just fighting over to show which religion is the most peaceful religion, And you got all these bomb blasts going off. So, I love it. I'm not trying to knock religion or anybody's belief system. It's up to them to think for themselves and see how it makes them feel. But, I'm allowed my opinion. That's my perspective because I remain open-minded. And I'm not afraid to die or where I'm going when I die because I know where I'm going. I've seen it already. So I'm happy about that.
One thing that I always wonder about is, with both of you talking about how, this is a school and this is a journey, what I hear from some sources that say, okay, if you didn't learn everything that you needed to learn, when you come back, you have to do it all over again. So is that something are you finding it true? Is that the truth?
Well, yeah, what Albert did say is that we do have definite lessons and experiences that we want to encounter in our travels, and if we set out to face some lessons and then we fail to meet the challenges, he says when you get back to the spirit side, you're going to look at you're going to have a life review of your last life, and you can look to see all the mistakes you made and all the challenges you failed to meet. And he says most likely you're going to say, okay, I'm going to go back again. I'm going to try another life, and this time I'm going to beat it. And it's not because somebody's making you do it. It's because you feel a moral imperative to go back and to try to meet the challenge again, and this time beat it, because that's just part of your evolution and growth as a soul. And so, yeah, if we make some really bad mistakes in one life, chances are we're going to come back and try to in a different life and try to reface the lesson and make amends and try to learn from the experience. So that's why we have a lot of incarnations on this planet, because it's hard to sort of learn all your lessons and get everything right in one life. And so we often have several lives, in some cases hundreds of lives, and then once we're satisfied that we've sort of faced all the challenges and beat them, and we've learned all our lessons, then we can say, okay, I've graduated from this planet, and I'm going to hang out on the spirit side or go to a different planet and incorporate into a different life form. So I would say it's entirely up to us. We decided when we graduated, and we decide if we want to keep on coming back. And he says, for some spirits, so they may find life on Earth so harsh that even though they haven't learned all the lessons they're supposed to learn, they need to say, to heck with that place, I've had enough of it, I'm not going back. And that's certainly our choice as well. But obviously, most souls keep on coming back because they just look at it as being a challenge. He says, we look at life on Earth as a very difficult sort of environment, and it is for us. But he says for souls on the spirit side, a lifetime of 80 years for a human life on Earth is just like a blink of an eye, because they don't have linear time on the spirit side. They don't have a past and a future and a present. They have only a present. And so an 80-year lifespan is just like a brief little journey. So, when we're looking at it, I've often heard people say, God, life on Earth is so horrible, I hope to heck I don't have to come back in another life. Well, Albert says that when that person gets to the spirit side, the thought of coming for another incarnation on Earth is not that daunting at all, because it's just a blink of an eye and then be back on the spirit side. So he says we look at things much differently when we're on the spirit side than we do, on our human journeys on Earth.
I totally agree. Like, if I kept failing economics and something else, history or whatever in college, I'm going to keep going back until I ace that puppy because I want to graduate, So that's a good example right there. And additionally, it's free choice. There's places to grow, but apparently growth in knowledge and spirituality is at a much accelerated rate on Earth than it is other places, because it's the most difficult place to go to learn from. And if you choose to stay on the other side, say, I'm not coming back, I hate that place, and you stay there, you'll learn there too at a much slower pace, but you'll learn. And that's eternity, and here is a blink of an eye. Just like you're watching the History Channel, and they're talking about the activity of a volcano and this and that, and say, yeah, it takes thousands of years to form, but that's only a minute in geological time. Well, we're here for a minute incarnation, for a brief period compared to eternity. This is nothing. And when we go to the other side, we're not standing by a judge who's going to say, you're going to hell because no. It's pure love in heaven, I believe. Pure love. So you come back out of here and all the stuff you did good, you get praise for it. But you can feel in your heart breaks when you realize the bad things you did. So for your conscience, you're going to want to make that right and go back and do it again and get it right. So am I kind of right on my game as to what I'm saying is going on so far from what you're saying?
You're absolutely right, David. You hit the nail on the head, because I mentioned before when we cross over, we have a life review. And that life review is intended to just as a learning tool. And so we go over the details of our past lives. Albert says it's like watching a 3D movie, or you can actually jump in and sort of relive parts of your life. But the best part of the life review, he says, is that we get to hear the thoughts and feel the emotions of the people we interacted with during our lives.
I've heard that. I have heard that. Yes.
So if you said something mean to a coworker one day at work, you'll get to actually feel his sadness and despair at your cruelty. You actually get to feel what he was feeling, and so that really hits home. Or if you shoveled the driveway of your elderly neighbor after a snowstorm, you'll get to feel her deep gratitude for your very kind deed. So you get the good and the bad, and so you learn from both of them. But it really is a learning tool, and so then when you finish your life review, you can say, okay. For most people, I've created some bad karma there. I need to go back and to find another life and to try to make amends and try to do things better. So that's what most souls do. But the other interesting thing is that, David said there's nothing but unconditional love on the spirit side. That's exactly right. And so if you were murdered on earth, when you go back to the spirit side, you won't feel any hatred or animosity or need for revenge against the perpetrator of your murder, but you will just love each other unconditionally and appreciate that you are both having a journey to experience things. And that happened maybe because the perpetrator lost control of his negative emotions, and bad things happen. Bad things happen on earth, but all souls realize that, and when they're back in the spirit side, it's sort of just nothing but love and compassion for each other, because they understand there what life on earth was all about.
Well, not only that, but maybe they may have agreed to let that happen. So one can learn from the other, and on the opposite way around, they could both learn from the experience, because after all, we're not in reality. Just like the Matrix we're in, and heaven is the real world, and so you can't be really harmed or killed. You have internal love, life, and peace over there. So we just came here briefly, go through this like a scenario to learn from, like when you go to a police academy, and retired deputy sheriff, and we went through scenarios. So we go through scenarios here, and sure, it may cost a life, but not in reality. It costs a life in this reality, but you go back to the permanence of that beautiful place of peace. You bring back knowledge, and I believe we have to continue to learn, because if it's true what it says in the Bible, after the sixth day, God created everything and he rested, then everything would disappear. It would cease to exist. Nothing can exist if creation is finished. Creation, I believe, is perpetual. We will always continue to learn. That is the nature of our being. We must keep going. We must keep learning. Our body sleeps, but our spirit never sleeps, because it's energy. You have to keep trudging on, and learning is an eternal process. Otherwise, if we learned everything, what's the purpose? Bye-bye. Does that make sense to you?
No, absolutely. You're right. We're on a never-ending trek of learning and experience things, and there's no finish line. And there's no timetables or deadlines for how we get there. And because the universe is constantly changing and expanding, there never ceases to be new things to explore, new things to learn, new life forms to incarnate into. So it's a continual, perpetual experience for eternity. It never ends, it never stops, and that's just who we are,
So think about yourself being on vacation, in the Bahamas, and you've been there for you retired, and you've been there for 2 years not doing anything. After a while, you got tired of going to the beach, and now all you're doing is watching shows, hoisting up the glass, and falling asleep day and night. Then after a while, you're thinking about, well, you become depressed. What's the purpose of this? I'm not doing anything. I already did everything. I'm retired. What do I need to do now? We need to stay active. We need to go out and talk to people, help people, swim in the ocean, go out and socialize. Doesn't that make sense? So we have to keep going, always.
Absolutely. You're dead right. We have to keep going, and in fact, that is what we do, is that, once we're back in the spirit side, we realize that we need to keep on evolving. We need to keep on going, and there's never a time where you say, that's it, I'm stopping, I'm not going to learn anymore, I'm retired. This doesn't happen, Albert says, because that's not the way it is, and all souls know they have to continue to learn and evolve and grow and that's what we do. And we do that by incarnating on the physical plane, or as you say, if we want to take it slower, we can still learn on the spirit side. Entirely up to us, and no one tells us, how fast we have to advance or what our timetable is, because there aren't any timetables. We're eternal souls who live forever, and it's all part of a perpetual learning experience.
Now, my take on Albert is that he's been here had many more incarnations than you have had. He's been through a lot. And so now he's not learning as much. He's still learning, but now he's more focused on teaching, see? Just like you have learned and you're still learning, but now you're focusing on teaching because you are doing it through your books. So there comes a time when you reach a certain point, even the teacher still learns. Even the teacher's teacher still learns. You will always do that, but the main focus now of the teachers is now to give back and teach from what they've learned. So I think that's what your guide is doing, and you're becoming kind of like your guide. You're still going to him for guidance and advice and still learning, but now you've been molded into the teacher. Now you're starting to teach, and believe me, that's on the same page as me, too. I don't know everything, but surely concur with everything that you said. I mean, yes. Oh, yeah, I totally agree with everything that you said and your guide has taught you. It's just amazing.
Yeah, David, I think that, Albert certainly is in the teaching mode, and he has lived on Earth in many lives. He didn't go into details for how many. He and I had a few lives together, actually, as he gave me a brief description of, so we have incarnated together. But he is clearly into the teaching mode, and yes, you're right. Just because he's teaching doesn't mean he stopped learning, because teachers can learn as well, as you mentioned. And so he's very much in the teaching mode, and I think he's trying to mold me into that fashion as well. And I'm happy to do that. I follow his marching orders. He's very wise. He knows much more than I do, and so I'm happy to follow his lead. First I want to say something about your name. Garnet is also the name of a gem, which is my wife's birthstone, and it's a beautiful gem. I love it. It has good energy to it. But that being said, are you interested? Have you been interested, like, in history? Have you been curious? And some people like, oh yes, I'm interested in the Knights of the Round Table or the Cowboys or of the Old West or something like that. But why am I keep getting something about ancient Rome around your energy? Does that mean anything? Ancient Rome. No, I don't think that doesn't mean anything to me, but it may become apparent to me at some point when I'm dealing with Albert. It's more connected to Albert in ancient Rome. Maybe you might ask him one time why I just keep getting it and getting it and getting it. So I decided, once you get it over 3 times, like when you're doing the reading, then you talk about it because it's being pushed on you, not in a negative way. So you might want to look into that. Why am I seeing something about Rome or ancient Rome tied to you or Albert or both of you? I will ask Albert. It could be that something that either he's connected or I am or we both are, because you're getting such a strong reading. So I will ask him about it, David, and I'll let you know when I find out. Okay, and one of these days I'm going to have to give you a reading too, just for the heck of it, because I'm very curious about you. You're definitely an advanced soul for sure. And some people said, well, I was a medium at 12 years old or 16 and I did all my stuff. Well, other people said I was a medium too, but I didn't start doing it until I was 55. Well, sometimes when you come here in this incarnation, I believe, you need to go through a certain amount of things before you can start doing what you need to do, just like you did. You finally retired, maybe albeit a little bit early, and to do what you're doing is amazing, because maybe you couldn't have done what you're doing now 30 years ago. Do you think? Is there a reason that this started happening to you at this time in your life? Well, no, I think it's clearly all planned out very well. Albert told me, he says like 30 years ago, he says, I wouldn't have written any of my books, and if I had, no one would read them, because people just weren't ready for the message yet. And so that's why I'm sort of basically biding my time practicing law until the time was right for Albert to come into my life and for me to write my books. And so it was all, I think, timed very perfectly, because 30 years ago, I would have been wasting my time. And so, when he came into my life in 2007, it was a good time. And of course, he and I had pre-planned this all before I was born. I don't remember any of that, but we planned it out pretty well. And of course, as things progressed on Earth, Albert kept track of what was happening in terms of humans being enlightened and ready for the message that he was about to give them. And then when he felt that they were ready, then he showed up in my life, and away we went.
That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely a lot of sense. That's the point I was trying to make too, because if I had written my first book 30 years ago, yeah, right, So, I mean, times have changed. I've seen it, and I know you've seen it too. You know how people looked at, talking about back then they called them flying saucers, and now they call them UFOs. People would laugh at you. Oh, I saw a ghost. There's no such thing as a ghost. Nowadays there's so many shows on TV about all that, and people are more open-minded. And the new generation didn't grow up hearing the words that we did or being laughed at, and they're growing up seeing these shows on TV, and it's opening their minds. So in a way, I think that's a lot of it's junk, but some of the documentaries are pretty good. So I think that's a good thing as well. Plus, there's more books like what you're writing now on the market that are nonfiction, that are very important books. And I like the way that this part of the future that I'm growing up into, I love it. When I was a kid, the teacher said, "It will never go to the moon. It's impossible," And now look at us. It's just amazing the way things have changed. And that's why I'm so grateful to meet somebody like you with this wonderful books that you have.
Well, thank you for saying that, and I'm very grateful to meet you two with your by helping me spread my message through your radio show, and that's all very important because we're all, as I said, we're all channels from the spirit side. We do things, in different fashions, but we're also there to facilitate the spreading of the message from spirit that they want us to hear, that they want all humans to hear. And so the more of us who are sponsoring radio shows or hosting radio shows or writing books, the more people that are doing that, the greater the chance that more and more humans will be able to receive that message and react to it in a positive way.
I think so. I really do.
And I do as well. I'm definitely going to repost it on Facebook and Twitter. And unfortunately, I'm not on Instagram or LinkedIn or all these others. It's just I'd be all day on the computer if I was in there.
Yeah,
I'm not ready for that yet, but I'm good enough now. But we did have some technical difficulties at the beginning of the program, and so this is being recorded. So what I'm going to do after the show, I'm going to download it, edit it out so there's no dead time, and repost the show to where it gets right into the meat from the beginning to the end. So I just want to let you know that, and anybody listening in the audience that may be still listening at this time.
That sounds great, David, and I'd be happy to download the recording and post it on my website and my YouTube page.
Well, what I do is once I download it and edit it appropriately and repost it successfully, and then remove the original so it's a smooth, clean show.
It's
so
technical.
Then I'll send you the link to it, and then you can use it. I will do that, and it will be today for sure.
I appreciate that, David. I look forward to it, and it's been a great show. You guys have great questions, and it makes my job so much easier as a guest when you have a very insightful host that sort of lead the conversation in the right direction. And I know you're being guided from spirit when you're asking me the questions,
yes.
And I think that's great.
I believe I am. I really do, and I believe that we met. There's no such thing as coincidences, but rather I believe in synchronicities more, and I believe that there's a reason we came together, and I also feel that we're going to be talking on the air again in the future. Not only that, but I want to have you back on because you're an amazing guest, and definitely support you.
Yes.
For sure.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'd be delighted to come back again, maybe when Book 4 is out, and we can talk about that. And I very much enjoyed the show, and I thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to tell the world about Albert's revelations.
Oh yeah, Albert is an amazing guy. Tell him I said hi and thank you for what he does. But I already know he's listening. So your book, Dance of Heavenly Bliss, is your latest book, and would you please tell the guest, in your words, what is your website? And we have the other Facebook and the other ones posted at the bottom of the page.
Yeah, the best source of information about me and Albert's revelations in my books are on my website, which is garnetschulhauser.com. That's hard to remember, David. So, but if anybody Googles dancing on a stamp, they can get to my website. On my website is information about all three of my books. You can download a free excerpt. You can watch a book video. You can watch recordings of all the radio shows I've done since my first book was released, and this is show number 93 for me, David.
Excellent.
And so and also all of my social media sites are there. You don't have to click on the little icons. You can get to Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Google Plus and a number of the other ones. So I'm very active on my social media sites, and so you can dial into theirs and be up to date on the publishing schedule for my next book and so on, and my public appearances. So that's the best source of information. Go to my website. My email address is there, and I'd be very happy to hear comments or questions from your listeners.
Well, that's wonderful. I'll definitely do that. Also promote your book. And wondering, and I'm also in Google Plus too. That's the third thing. But do you have video on YouTube or some video somewhere that I'm able to get permission to just post it, say, folks, watch this video?
I have a YouTube channel, and you can get to it from my website just by clicking on the YouTube icon. It takes you right to my YouTube channel. I've got videos of all of my radio show interviews, of my other interviews, of my conference presentations, and so it's all there. And you absolutely can download anything you see there, David, and use it as you may.
Okay, and I'm just getting ready to where I put many shows on my regular YouTube channel, and I've just created a Beyond the Gate YouTube channel. But I wonder if I have permission to put an image of your book on YouTube for a show that you and I are talking on right now when I, put it on YouTube.
Absolutely. You have my permission, David, for sure.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. We had an absolutely great time. These are the kind of shows that I love. And how about you, Cheryll?
I absolutely loved it. Thank you so much, Garnet, for coming on and speaking with us and our listeners again. And I cannot wait to have you again in the future.
Thank you so much. And thank you, too, for being such great hosts and for inviting me on your show.
Thank you. God bless. Keep working on that next book. We can't wait to read about that. And we'll talk to you in the near future.
Thank you. And take care, you guys, and have a great weekend.
Thank you. We will.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. We will. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, folks. This has been Beyond the Gate Radio, a special show on Thursday, May 12th, 2016. Thank you so much for listening. And Cheryll, have
David.
nice working with you again. And thank you to all the listeners, including Nick French and all the other people that are hardcore listeners. Good night.
Good night.